Okay everybody, time to tackle the rod bearings. So we're going to do this on our own. And we're going to be putting in WPC treated rod bearings for added benefit. And so this is going to be a little bit of a documentary, if you will, on how we go through the job, so you can determine if you want to do it yourself or if you want to take it into a qualified shop. I'm not a mechanic. I just don't have to worry about this thing running. It's not a daily. So yeah, hope you follow along the video, like, subscribe, and away we go. We're going to be following the BMW maintenance bulletin for the job. And the first step is to remove your airbox, to remove your fan, and so I just finished doing that. And so just to start to get some space in here, and we're going to prep basically the whole top, and then fortunately we are going to be using the lift here at NoBrainR Racing, and so we'll be able to get in underneath quite easily. And so there's lots of videos on how to remove the fan, on how to remove the airbox. I'm assuming that's pretty basic for you if you're watching this video. Okay, we disconnected the dipstick. We actually loosened off the oil cap because we're going to drain that. And next we're going to put on the engine mount, and then we'll lift her up. Okay, quick update. We lowered the reinforcement plate. We've disconnected the lower control arms back here. And we've disconnected the sway bar on this side, up in here. And there we have removed the oil dipstick as well as the breather. And next is to disconnect the steering. We'll get better light and show you. Here we go with a bit of light. You can see up in there. And then next is we're going to be disconnecting steering right there. We have cracked the engine mount nuts, which are up under here, right here, so on both sides, so they've been cracked. And Sean is just draining the oil. And we've also loosened off the power steering pump right here. So there's one small bolt here, plus two up at the top. We drained the oil out, took this pan off, this cover off of the pan, disconnected this feed. Now here's the interesting thing. If you look underneath, this will go up like that in there. So that ensures that when you're pumping oil up into your engine, that you're not pumping junk up. So for example, what could you potentially find in the bottom of your engine? If you saw the Vanos video that I did, my chain tensioner broke. So this was actually sitting, we found that inside the bottom of the oil pan. And of course, because this had a large screen, it wasn't going to get pumped up again. But it could be interesting for you to lower this pan and clean that out when you get a chance, and then replace the gasket, because you might have some large objects up in there. We are going to be replacing the stock engine mounts with solid engine mounts. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack the top of the engine mount that's on before we actually lower the subframe. Otherwise it'll just spin, it'll be too hard to take off. Of course, if you're not replacing engine mounts, then it might not be a problem for you because they just stay connected up to the engine. However, if you're going through this much work, you might as well replace them either with stock or something a little beefier like this. Okay, we've got the oil pan down. You can see underneath. And the solid engine mount is on. It's a bit of a job wiggling it through there. Gives you an idea. Okay, so we have the oil pump and the pipe, return pipe. And you can see over here, oil pump, there's a return pipe. Pump has 3 bolts. Here's the pump nut on the sprocket. And I guess we're pretty much ready to start changing out the bearings.
As mentioned earlier, we used the WPC treated from genuine OE bearing. So they essentially take the OE bearing and they have a special treatment process. I ordered mine from ECS Tuning. And you can see the benefit here is that the surface treatment reduces friction and adds strength. Swapping these out is fairly straightforward once you have the everything off, except the you have space issues. People that do this on jack stands, I applaud you for sure. There is they can't really go in wrong. There are 2 color codings though for top and bottom, and you can kind of see that in the picture. And so just making sure that you get that sequence. And then the connecting rods themselves also can't go on incorrectly, so that's fairly straightforward. So you just pop them off, and when you're reapplying them, I use the red line assembly lube, and so this just helps with initial start until oil gets flowing through the engine. And so you just apply the assembly lube generously and torque them down.
Okay, a little update from the Brain Cave. We got some connecting rod bearings here we replaced. You can see they're reasonably worn, so trying to make the customer happy. Replaced them all with some super WPC coated ones. Anyways, circle around here. Got a happy customer. There were some stressful moments here, but anyways, and of course that's what we're into is just swapping out the con-rod bearings. So all exciting here. Almost ready to button this up and go racing one lap. Oh, did I say that loud? Oops.
There are 2 styles of connecting rod bolts depending on the year of manufacture of your car. There's the M11, so the width of the connecting rod bolt is 11 millimeters. And then there's the M10. Each of these also have a different head style. So you can see, in the picture here, it's important that when you replace your connecting rods that you use the same style bolts. Generally speaking here, as it says, vehicles produced from 12/13/2002 use the new style design of M10. So that's the style that I had. And the torque procedures are different for each. And I'll touch on that in a second. And in the M11 style, those bolts can actually be reused. A lot of people just replace and go with ARP or something like that. So let me just page down. And you can see for the M11 style, it's pretty straightforward for torquing. For M10, it has a very interesting torque sequence.
Final torquing of this BMW M engine. Some crazy ass thing you gotta do. You gotta do it 3 times and it's 105 degrees. Anyways, there's the last box right there. We're gonna check that baby off. And you have to use one of those doodads at 105 degrees. And you do this 3 times in a row. I don't know who Gunther is that figured this shit out, but I'd like to kick him squarely because that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, the bearings are out. These are the top bearings, and you can see the wear. This one's probably the worst. So these have been running for 140,000 kilometers, or about 90,000 miles. And these are recall bearings. So these were done in the recall after 40,000. You can see the bottom's not as bad in general. The wear pattern's different. but you just don't know. This is mostly highway driving kilometers. So the 140,000 kilometers, 90,000 miles, most of that was highway. And of course now it's just going to be up into the high RPM all the time. So it's well worth doing. It's a big job, but well worth doing.
I got a way to open it. I think this will work. I'm not sure. You might want to stand back a little bit. Very nice. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay guys, we just got the oil pan mounted back up and we're gonna start torquing it down and then reassemble.
So here's the deal, guys. Just finished doing all the rod bearings and solid engine mounts and all kinds of little interesting things to this car. I hope the customer's happy. He seems to have a big ass grin on his face. So we're gonna fire this baby up after having literally the whole damn thing apart. Give her. Go. You gotta like that. You gotta like that. Do we have a happy customer? Yeah, thumbs up. There we go.